Hey, welcome back to the Money Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Nadz, and today we've got something a little bit different for you. Today I've got a very special guest. She is one of my very close friends and also the graphic designer behind all my awesome branding, like 3 iterations of my branding. Since like 2000 and whatever inception of my business, and she also used to be a client in Save a Million Cents. So our lives are intertwined in so many different ways. It is the most amazing Kath Grimmitt, who is from Grim Designs. Hi, Kath.
Hi.
Good to have you. And George.
Thank you for having me. Yes, George is here too.
George is Kath's little doggy. So how's it going?
Yeah, it's good. I'm so excited to actually be a guest. I've been listening to your podcast for so long. Well, we've known each other for so long.
We have. It's like lifetimes, you know? And then we got to meet in person for the first time this year in October.
So good. I can't believe it was October. It feels like yesterday.
I know.
Like forever ago at the same time.
We had such a good time in New York, and we had a very, there was a podcast episode that I posted previously about, you know, I talked a little bit about our Airbnb adventure. Oh my God. Y'all, seriously, like we booked this awesome Airbnb in Brooklyn and it looked awesome, right? The reviews were great. The price was high, right? Like you get a little bit suspicious if the price is low and has good reviews. Anyway, the price was high. The reviews were good. And Kath gets there before me. And I arrive later and she's sitting outside and we, got over the initial like, oh my God, you're real and all that. And then she's like, okay, let's go inside.
So let's discuss the Airbnb.
It was shocking. It was so shocking. And we were like, okay, so this is really disgusting and it's dirty. And I wouldn't be surprised if I found a rat here in the middle of the night because it was really dirty. And there was like crumbs on the leather couch.
It was grim. It was very grim.
So horrible. And like there was a very old broken air conditioning unit in my closet in like the other room. And it was just, and like, used toothbrush in the medicine cabinet in the bathroom.
Honestly, stop. It's making me go back to my nightmare.
But no, the worst part was when we were like, okay, let's just go out for dinner and discuss this, right? So
the door did not lock.
The worst part was that it didn't have a door. So there was a door. We were given keys, but the keys would just like spin and spin and spin inside of the lock without actually locking the damn door. But it had a latch. We were told that was enough. Like, no, it's not enough.
Honestly, if it was going to happen to someone, it was going to happen to us. Like, I think it's just the universe knew that we could deal with it, I think.
Yeah, I know, because we dealt with it very well. It needed team effort because I got really activated and you didn't. And it was a good yin and yang situation. So we took all our precious belongings because we were literally just like in the street, really. Like there was just this wooden thing that didn't lock between us and Brooklyn. Right? So we took our precious belongings, so our like electronics and whatever. We went to a restaurant and Kath took over booking a hotel for the night. Well, actually, we wanted to book a hotel for the 6 nights we were there, but it was really difficult because we were really activated and we needed something very quick and everything was very expensive at the time. And we needed we both knew that we needed more of our mental faculties around us and this was not a time. So Kath took the charge.
And we've both been traveling all day.
Oh, yeah, and you came all the way from England.
Yeah,
and
I come from London, and
geez,
it was a lot.
It was a lot. We were tired, and I took the charge of speaking to Airbnb and back and forth. We go back to the Airbnb. So Airbnb, the company, were like, "Yeah, you need to leave. That's not right." We go back to collect the rest of our stuff, and we got verbally abused by the Airbnb host. And that's when I got activated and started yelling back. And Kath was like, no, I'm British. I don't do that.
Excuse me, I'm British and this makes me extremely uncomfortable.
So she turns on her voice recorder on her phone, because that was very smart, just in case we needed to, capture the evidence of what was happening. I'm glad it didn't come to that, because we moved to the hotel, and it all worked out in the end, because the second hotel we went to was absolutely fantastic. It was so good. And we had lots of hotel picnics on the floor, lots of sushi. It was a really, really good time. Really good time.
Yeah, it was so central. It was perfect. It was exactly where we should have been, wasn't it?
But we had to have that experience. And the funny thing, the really cute thing, was how Kath and I were in the hotel we were in the interim, while we were like pricing the second long-term hotel, and we were both looking at our buckets. That was so cute. Oh, look at us looking at our buckets and our money and like doing all that. I was a very proud coaching moment, like looking at both of us, not just you, like both of us.
And I think as well, like from a student of yours as well, like from when we started working together many years ago, that kind of thing, with having to front up quite a bit more money to find somewhere to stay, definitely would have sent me into a spiral before. Whereas like it wasn't even an issue this time. Like it was amazing. It was I was really proud of how we
managed it really well. And it would have, like, had we been financially activated and not have done the work, because the second accommodation was slightly more expensive, given that it was done on the spot, like, without, sometimes you book in advance and it's cheaper, but it was like, we need it now. It would have ruined our holiday had we not done our work, right? But because we had our finances organized, and we have, we know our money archetypes, and we know all that stuff, it was a non-issue.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So a little bit before that, before Kath and I got to meet in person, Kath helped me with my third rebrand of Save a Million Cents. And that's what I would like for us to get into today, Kath. Just like talking about branding, but not just like any old branding, because we all know what a brand is, right? Like the colors, the fonts, but that's not what it is. And that's something really precious that you taught me, that it's not about the colors and the fonts. It's really about, well, I'm not going to ruin it for her. It's your thing, right?
Dun, dun, dun.
So we did a rebrand back in 2021. And I think for any branding expert out there, and what do you call yourself? Because you're many things.
Yeah, so now I call myself a branding and graphic designer.
I thought so.
Yeah.
So
I have flip-flopped, as we usually do, but that's what I'm settling on for now.
So a branding and graphic designer. And the thing is that if you're a branding and graphic designer, get a manifesting generator client, because they are going to want to rebrand all the time. It's good for you, y'all. But as a manager, I have different iterations, and my business evolved quickly. It started by like having that little really cute pin-uppy look, and then I was like, okay, I'm kind of hiding behind being cute. My message is way more intense than that, because being cute and be like, oh, this is so nice and let's make money fun is not why I was put on earth. I was put on earth to show people that abundance and like power is within you, and we need to stop giving our power away to money. So we went and we did another rebrand in 2021, and that was really nice. Like it was really kick-ass. But then I kind of like found a different iteration of like something that joins both of these things, because one of them was too cute, the other one was a little bit too like not aggressive, but like like in your face. And I kind of got the and it's not a reflection on you, it's a reflection on how I was feeling, right? Like it's not what you were doing as a graphic designer, but it was how I was feeling about my business and how I wanted to get my message across. And then like in July of 2023, I got this inspiration, like it was pretty much a download from my guides, that something needs to be a little bit softer, but it needs to be a little bit brighter. Okay. And I was like, Kath, I don't know what that means. Will you help me? So Kath has what I would call an inside out approach to branding, right? Like a lot of people out there would like get you through a quiz or like make you see things and you're like, yeah, I want this, I want that. But Kath, talk to us about your process and how you got to it and where you were, where you've been. Like just tell us about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think firstly, I want to touch on, what you said from the iterations that you had through the business. And like at every stage that we worked together for a rebrand, it was commenting and solidifying the moment that you were in your business
Yes.
at that time. Like every time we worked on the rebrand was you'd grown up, you'd outgrown what you had before, your journey your learning, your experience, your the way your business was evolving. The branding adapted with that, and I think that's a really important thing to remember when you think about building a brand and building your business, is that it is a journey. There is always going to be changes and pivots and up levels along the way. And it's being able to identify when that means a visual up level as well as an internal up level, like you were saying, and so even though looking back on it now, those iterations that you had before weren't where you are now. You had to go through that journey and those iterations in order to get to where you were.
Exactly. And you are so good at unshaming, because I would be like, hey, Kath, I know we did something amazing, but I kind of need to change it. And you're like, yeah, that's cool. Because part of me was like, oh, I'm so flaky, right? Like, I'm so flaky. I can't make up my mind. But you are so good at reminding me, like, no, you needed to go through those stages. You needed to go like extreme, extreme one way, extreme the other way, and then find yourself in that middle, like a really sweet spot in the middle of that pendulum between swinging between like really like cute and really rough, right?
Absolutely. And also like you had to experience all of that to come to you were experiencing that in your business and how your business was navigating as well. You were trying different programs, you were learning different courses, you were evolving as a human and how you were helping your clients.
And that's just a reflection.
And the branding was just a reflection of that. And it was really beautiful to be able to help you facilitate that as it went along, but also knowing that, and that's why we were talking about branding always being internals first, is because the visual side of branding, the aesthetic side of branding should be that. It should be a visual representation of what is going on in yourself and your business, especially if you have a personal brand, especially if you are putting your name and face to a business and your brand, but also, regardless of whether it's a personal brand or not, it has to be that reflection of your why, of your mission, of your vibe, of your values, and all of that. So we're going to start talking about all of this now. So
I want to get into that stuff. I kind of wanted to also just take a detour quickly and I remembered when you said that I think my struggle for the many years that I was like, something's not right, was my name. Remember, like you knew all along that I had to bring my name forward, but I had to do my healing work around my last name. I love my first name, but my last name represented my dad's side of the family. And I mean, they're nice people, but to me, from a child perspective, was like, where were you when dad was being a dick to us, right? So I had to do a lot of inner child healing and a lot of like healing and spiritual work around accepting that. And in accepting that, I was able to start using my last name in my branding. It took a while. Like it took, I would say, a year and a half of me intentionally working on healing my relationship with my last name and actually pronouncing it the way it should be pronounced, because I lived in France and it was like, oh, Zumu. I was like, yeah, that sounds better than Zarmot. And for me to just say it and say it in that Arabic pronunciation, that is just, people don't know this stuff, and why should they, right? But it took me a really long time to accept that and to heal around that. And that's when the third branding iteration came to life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important thing to recognize about yourself, but also the fact that you chose to work with me as well. You know,
I don't choose to work with
like
you.
you
You're part of it. It's not a
but
choice.
you know, like we were talking, I mean, first iteration, I was like, Nadine, you know, we played around with adding your name to the brand first time around.
Yeah.
And like, even though you said earlier that you were flaky, actually you weren't at all, because we've done 3 iterations of your branding, and every single one of those has been an up level, and it's you stepping into who you are in that moment of time. But also, you needed all of that work to happen before you got to, you know, the most recent rebrand. And even though I knew sort of subconsciously that was definitely something that for you to claim your power, but who am I to push you into that? And that is a really important thing as somebody who specializes in branding, is that, and I am really blessed in having that ability to see things, see the bigger picture when it comes to other people's branding and what their brand can become. But there's that fine line between being able to facilitate the bigger dream and meeting your client with where they are in that moment, because it has to match, it has to align. And even though we knew that, you know, eventually you would claim your name, the second iteration you just still weren't ready for it. And you know, and that was the medium step, because we focused a lot on Nadine rather than Nadine Zumot. And yeah, you know, and it was uncovering, but you weren't ready for it. And as a branding specialist, and as a, you know, as a friend, and as somebody who works with integrity in their business as well, it wasn't right for me to, you know, I would never push you into something anyway. I would never push a client into a particular direction. It has to be a collaboration. You know, I always like to refer to myself as the conduit in making the branding happen, because this isn't about me. This is about, you know, helping people create brands and create their story that they are happy to stand out with confidence and clarity, no matter where along that journey they are. So, you know, you're always going to have branding revisions. You're always going to, you know, everybody does. Look at the huge names in the industry. Everyone goes through branding changes, and you know, it's how life works. But I think knowing that you are true to yourself and your vision in the moment that you're doing it, and that is going to facilitate you stepping into your power for a good amount of time, is really important. And I think that's one really important thing about branding, is that it's you didn't change. It wasn't like we were doing reiterations of your brand every couple of months. You know, you had a good couple of years between each up level. And I think that came from a lot of self-awareness, a lot of, you know, inner work. It came from a lot of developing of your business as well. And so
working
even
with clients too, seeing what they
Yeah.
wanted and where they wanted to go. But it was, like perfectly said, Kath, like it is an internal process.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beauty of it, is that once you have the visual side of it, like we were talking about earlier, the internal side of it is so powerful. And that is where the confidence comes from, because, you know, we've spoken about this time and time again, but it's not about your colors, it's not about your fonts, it's not about the elements that you put together. It's about the whole representation of everything. It's that bird's eye view, and the confidence that what you're putting out into the world represents you in the best possible way. And I think especially for the types of businesses that I work with, and, you know, especially your listeners and things like that as well, we all have a level of service. We have a level of high integrity that we hold ourselves to. You know, we genuinely want to help other people. We want to do good in the world. And these are the people that I love working with. And so it's not about, you know, pushing or forceful. It's not about, you know, keeping up appearances or faking it until you make it. It's about having that, you know, having the confidence in being your weird self. It's, you know, having that confidence in being like, yeah, do you know what? There are plenty of other people who do graphic design in the world, who do branding in the world, but only I can do what I do in my way. And I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And it is not competition with other people, it's collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being really confident in who you are as yourself and what you can offer to others, and the types of people that you can offer help to, and standing really confidently in that in order to do good and help others, versus, you know, putting out a big shiny appearance of what something, you know, what your business is, and then not having the substance to back it up. So, which we often see, you know, and it's a common mistake. And hands up, you know, totally done that when I've been younger in business and learning all about it as well. Who hasn't? But I think it's that integrity to self and the integrity to helping others that helps us carry that vision forward in a way that works really beautifully and helps us embrace ourselves a little bit more and a little bit stronger.
Oh, I love that so much. I remember, so yes, there has been many different iterations of my branding, but there is one color that has been constant, and it's that bright red. No, it's not bright red. It's like deep red. It's like the color of my lipstick. All my lipsticks. Yeah. You know, and if you've seen any of my Instagram, seen my website, you probably know what color I'm talking about. It's like that deep red, and it's always been with me. And the funny thing is that when I first started into this whole business thing, one of my mentors was saying, the last thing you want for a money brand is the color red. And I'm like, why? Why? It's like, it's nicer to use the color like these greens, because green is like money and green is about honesty. I'm like, no, it doesn't work with me. I want the color red, because red for me is about the root chakra. Red for me is about being rooted, being grounded in who you are. And that's what I always thought. And it always like kind of like followed me around of like, should I be using red? Should I not be using, like, no, you have to use red, because my whole business is a collaboration between me and my spirit guides, right? So it's always been like that. And it's not just like me deciding, it's the feelings that I get. So you've been alluding to that for a while, and I'm sure everybody is dying to know, what is your process, Kath? Talk to us about how you are able to bring somebody's like internal reflections and internal like life and world into their visuals, into their graphics, into their website, into wherever people use brands, you know, their workbooks. Tell us about your process.
Yeah, absolutely. I love my process.
I love
so
your
much.
process
like,
too. I've sent so many people to Kath, and I like have no hesitation sending everyone to get their branding done by you because of that awesome process. So tell us.
Thank you, my love.
Spill.
Yeah, so my branding process is a 3-day intensive, and it's intense, but it's so much fun, and that is the reason that I've done it in the 3 days, is because I'm immersed, you're immersed. It's like being in a beautiful bubble that is just full of the two of us talking about you and what we're creating. So it starts with a guided visualization, which makes me quite different from a lot of other graphic designers, because I definitely lean into the more spiritual, holistic, intuitive side. And that's why I kind of call myself an intuitive branding designer as well, is everything as somebody. So I'm a 4/6 generator, and so everything for me is led by intuition. Everything is gut led, and that is one of the powers of my process and how I do what I do, is that it is very intuitively led. So we start with a guided visualization where I connect you to your future self, to your guides, if you are if you are connected to your guides and are spiritual in that way, or whatever way helps you connect to yourself, your vision, and your bigger purpose. Because after all, we already know that message that we have on our hearts, whether it is something that we connect to every day or whether it was just something that drove us to start our business in the first place. We all have that. We have that drive. We have that motivation. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. We wouldn't be entrepreneurs. And so by using that process, not only do we connect to the visual side of things, we also connect to all of that really powerful internal stuff. So your why, your values, everything that you're building towards, what that looks like, and and why. And then we kind of connect the dots from where you are and what you're trying to create to where you are now. And then the branding process bridges the gap. It helps you stand in the power of that future self without you feeling like an imposter, without you feeling like you aren't there yet. It's not about being in a certain point of time. It's about connecting to those values. Mm-hmm. It's about connecting to your why, connecting to your beautiful uniqueness. I've started calling it just your own personal vibe, so that you can really embrace that, because you are, your vibe will change, but there's that continuity of who you are running through it. So, you might change from, listening to Metallica to really loving Taylor Swift all of a sudden. Hands up, I'm both of those things.
I'm not to Wu-Tang here.
But the vibe of who I am and the fact that I embrace both of those dualities of my music choices is part of who I am and is part of my vibe. So I embrace that, and you're very much similar to that with juxtapositions that we have within our own personality and our values. And so being able to help people connect to those fundamental core internal values and vision and mission and vibe, it helps you get more confidence and clarity in who you are and who you're helping. And the best way in order to then create those visuals is to create a true representation of who you are and who you're helping. And the way that I kind of describe this as the reason that it's so important is because that then gives other people the power and the education to decide whether you are the right person to work with them or not. And the power that comes from that energy exchange of, this is who I am, this is how I can help you, and this is my mission and purpose. Let me know if you're the right person, if I'm the right person to help you do that. And then it's reciprocal energy. They decide then, if you're the right person, you get on a call, you have, that discussion, and it's an interview both ways. It's a discussion both ways. It is that beautiful connect energy exchange to then create magic together. And
the co-creation.
It is, yeah. And I think that's one of the really important things that gets missed with branding a lot of the time, is that the co-creation of the brand is, yes, you have to stand true in who you are and how you help people, but it also has to be a co-creation of the people that you're then also helping. And the best way that you can do that is to stand as you in yourself and help and let people decide whether you're the right person for them or not, because you're gonna be or you're not, and you don't want to be for everyone.
Or you're not. Exactly. Like, get off my fence, right? Yeah. I really like what you said earlier about, like, I love what you said, a whole thing, but there's something I want to like kind of bring people's attention to, is that you mentioned something about being like, there's you and then there's the future version of you, but what you said was so beautiful and nuanced, is that it's the future version of you. It's not something you become, it's something you connect to. And that is a very, very important distinction, because a lot of in the self-help world, we're like, who the best version of you, how do you become? You're like, you don't become it, you connect with it, right? And sorry,
no, I was just going to say I love the wording of that, because that is, we gaslight ourselves into being a better person.
I know,
so
right?
Much.
That's so like, it is so shame inducing of like, so now I'm not the best version of myself. Ooh, shame on me.
But actually, it's the beauty, the way that I love connecting, whether it's past self or future self, actually, is it's a journey. There's learnings all the way through the way. Business is exactly the same. And this is why I love it and get so passionate about it as well. Like, especially with brand building, is you're telling the story to let people know if you're the right fit for them. That's all it is. And it's not about becoming this magical unicorn that can do everything, or I mean, you are a beautiful unicorn. It's not about becoming one. You already are that. And there's no shame in wanting to do better, be better, or, you know, than where you are right now. Because if you hadn't done that, you would be exactly the same as you were in your, you know, from your past self. Change and growth is natural, especially when you're an entrepreneur. And it's about detaching that shame from it and really embracing the uniqueness and the experience and the journey. And I think that is, it's so powerful. And like you said, you know, we do the wellness space, especially when you are connecting to future guides, is there is that danger that you are, you know, putting undue pressure on yourself rather than looking at it from an energetic perspective. And I always like to think of it as like chapters in a book. Like I'm on chapter 12 right now. I don't know how many chapters there's going to be. Yeah. But I know that I'm not the same person that I was in chapter 1, so I'm good, you know, I'm good with that. There was learnings, there was good things, there was bad things, and so let's carry on. But as long as I'm okay with who I am, who I'm helping, and my mission in the world, then I'm going to keep going with that. And I think that's the beauty, isn't it? Is being able to really embrace that, and especially when it comes to owning your own business as well, is the pressure that we put on ourselves to be better, do better, have X, Y, and Z. You know, it is, you can get caught up in it, and so by having that really strong foundation to your values, your vision, and all of that helps you navigate it a bit better without, you know, yucking all over yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I hate yucking all over myself. So the vision I had before we got into the process of my new brand was, it was just like I had lots of shapes and lots of colors. So I was instructed by my guides, you know, very gently, to go and get a piece of like A4 paper and get a pencil. And I actually have what I created with them here, and that was created on the eve of our brand intensive. And the thing is that they threw all these colors at me and the meanings of the colors, and I was like, how the hell are we going to make this into a cohesive brand that doesn't look like kindergarten? Because they said you need the color orange, because orange is the color of power, of personal power, and the sacral not the sacral, sorry, the solar plexus chakra. So orange is about reclaiming your power. And then blue, they wanted me to use a certain shade of blue because blue represents the clarity of mind, the clarity of intentions, and the clarity of ourself. And then the red, you know, my signature red is about passion, groundedness, living deliciously, and that the energy of pure, yummy, delicious desire versus just like a want, you know, because when we say want, it kind of like insinuates that there's lack, but what they wanted me to express is that desire through the red, the passion, the groundedness. And then surprise, yellow. I was like, yellow? And they're like, yeah, yellow. It's the zest for life. It's that the loving of the sun, the loving of the sunflower. I'm like, sunflower, okay. We went with that, right? And then there was the green, which is the color of sovereignty. And they wanted me to use all these bright colors that express the brightness of life. And they were like, okay, and then wrap it all up with classy, elegant fonts. I'm like, okay. And then the surprise thing that came in our visualization was the message of don't be scared to use the color pink, because I used to be very like, I don't want to use pink. And I was like, Kath, I don't know how you're going to bring all this together. And you did. And you all should go and check out my website. And I'm going to put a link to Kath's portfolio in the show notes so you can see what she does for others and what she did for me. But like, how would you describe me being in co-creation with my guides a little bit different than maybe other branding intensives that you did? Because it felt like we were in a it felt, you told me it felt different, and to me it felt different than every other time that it was more of a mental thing. But this was very like, it came to me, it was a very clear download, and then you and I like workshopped it together. So tell us how it felt like from your perspective and what you thought about these colors, and then your process of putting them together in a way that was so classy and elegant and didn't look like I was teaching kindergarten.
Yeah, so it's been quite interesting actually, because since we did ours, I've had a couple of other clients that have connected to their guides and things as well.
Of course you did.
So yeah, it's been great, because the great thing about the visualization and the process that we go through is it doesn't matter how connected beyond self you are. It's about connecting to your bigger purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you are so connected with your higher purpose and your guides and connecting to that regularly that it was just so easy to like snap you straight into that space. Whereas when I work with other clients that perhaps don't have that experience or don't have that knowledge, that's when we take a different route to it. And I think yours was definitely a level up in that sort of, for me, as a process as well. And like I said earlier, it's about being a conduit of what you're being told. So there's a really, yes, I'm a designer. Yes, I worked in fashion, so I got to work on trends a lot. But there also has to be a humility with being a designer. Like I said, I'm a conduit. I'm not, and that's why I don't like referring to myself as an expert. There has to be humility, and like I said earlier, it has to be a collaboration, because if I said to you, think of the color pink, and I'm going to think of the color pink, we're never going to think of the same shade. It might be close, but it won't be the same thing. And my interpretation isn't important. What is important is me nailing your interpretation of this. And so that is why, and that's the hardest thing for people. And that's why they work with branding designers, is because the visual side of things and connecting what is internal to a visual representation is one of the hardest things that you could possibly do. But when you work in collaboration with others, it's easier to navigate that, because it's not about, oh, you haven't got it right first time, or, it's about enjoying the process. It's about having fun.
It's
like
a
we
feeling.
have
It's not about wrong or right. Yeah.
And so I just listened to what your guides were telling you. I listened to, we talked about this way before we ended up doing the intensive and things anyway. But even on the day, we were talking through things that came through for you, and we had the Pinterest board to make sure that we were finding images that you were seeing and relating to. And that is a really important part of the process, is that, like I was saying, what I'm seeing and what you're seeing has to align. Because if I'm thinking of an orange hanging from a tree, and you're thinking of a sliced orange, they're not going to relate to each other. So making sure that we're in sync in that way, so that I can translate what you are seeing and feeling and experiencing internally into a physical visual thing. And so that's why it has to be a workshop. It has to be a collaboration, is because it is that interpretation, and it has to be a workshop. Yeah, you have to workshop it, because it's, I'm not going to get it right first time, but I'm going to have fun in the process. And then once we'd nailed the brand and the mood board and the colors, and I'd listened to everything in terms of the different fonts that you were drawn to and that you'd seen as well. It was extremely different from our second iteration of the brand. But I also knew that it wasn't, even though we were up leveling and it had to be elegant, it still had to be you.
It had to be me, and I'm fun.
Yeah,
and I'm
had to have that pizzazz to it. So it's navigating what I know about the individual and what was coming through, and also this, knowing from all of that experience that we've been through what worked for you and what was going to work for you. And then that enabled me then to do the two different
good. I know,
options.
I love them both.
Yeah.
It was a hard choice.
Happens, is and then what usually happens is I do the two concepts. People can't choose between the two concepts, and then we end up switching them together, which is perfect because it just means that, I was focusing on one aspect in one concept and one aspect in another, and actually it needs to be an amalgamation of the two, and it comes together beautifully in that way. And it just means then that visually it's really easy to then show you that bigger vision of what your guides are showing you in a physical way, because that's the hardest part sometimes, especially if you are not a visual person. And so though I know, even though I said we use a guided visualization, that doesn't always necessarily mean visual visualization. Some people are more auditory or kinesthetic, or, have different modalities of how they visualize. So we work with that in whatever capacity that facilitates getting out, that connection to self and what we're creating. And this is the part where I'm like, yeah, it's a bit woo. I don't really know how it works, but I don't really know. I don't have to know, no. It's that beautiful process that allows that to happen.
Yeah.
And then, that's kind of like, once you've,
it's magic, isn't it?
Once it comes to me, and once I design, and then that's it.
You get in your zone, you get in touch with your own, process and guides and intuition. And, it's just, it's like the 3D world is the interim between the two.
Yeah.
But it's really nice. You also use a boat analogy. I really like that. Do you mind sharing it with us?
Yeah, of course. So I was introduced to this analogy through Tad Hargrave, Marketing for Hippies, a little while ago. So great. Shout out to Tad. So he used a really great analogy for the purpose of marketing. And then I've stolen his analogy, and used it to kind of iterate the importance of branding, really. So Tad's concept of understanding marketing is you have your clients. They are people who want to work with you. They are on island A and they are stuck on island A. This is before they have worked with you. This is all of their frustrations and the reason, and they want to get from island A to island B.
Badly.
Island B is, island B is where everything that they are having in problem on island A is the opposite. And they need a boat to go from island A to island B. There is no other way of getting there. And so they go down to the docks, and there are thousands of different boats to choose from. Different shapes, different sizes, different themes. So how the hell do they know which boat to get on? So the boat is your brand. So by being able to decide, what your boat is, I want you to think about your boat is the chassis of your boat is your values. It's what you're building your brand upon. The vibe of your brand, of your boat is, is it themed?
Is it a party boat? Is it a metal boat? Is it a headbanger theme boat?
Is it a pirate princess boat? Like,
Disney boat?
But it allows you to communicate both through internally and externally as to whether that's the right boat for you to get on. So the way that you would, your vibe is not just how it looks, but it's also the way that you would talk to them.
Yeah. How do you want to arrive?
Yeah. The why is how you power that boat. It's your mission to help get them from A to B. So by being your most authentic self and using your vibe, and that helps them decide that you are the right boat for them, right? So your vibe is not just your aesthetics. It helps. And to a lot of people, it's really important, because you're not going to get on a grotty boat, are you? But it does allow you to really show that personality of how you're going to take them from point A to point B, and whether you are the right person to do that. Because the last thing you want to do is get them halfway across the water and realize it was all a big mistake.
All a big mistake, yeah. Kath, I really want to know about your values and what is your vibe. You use that word vibe in our conversation earlier. Tell us about your personal vibe or the vibe of your brand.
Yes, so I love talking about this bit because it's the bit that doesn't necessarily always come easy, but as soon as you start doing it, you're like, yeah, of course that's who, like, what it is, because that's who I am. So vibe is very much like all of the jigsaw pieces of who makes you who that's not a sentence.
Who
all
makes
the
you who?
Who makes you who? All the jigsaw pieces of what makes you you. So my vibe is very much, you kind of, what you see is what you get. And I'm not afraid to unapologetically be who I am, but that also means that I am extremely compassionate and love animals and like have quite a bold vibe. Like I'm a huge fan of the yeahs of Karen O. Like she's kind of, if I was going to be a stage performer, like Karen O is definitely my spirit animal. And that kind of femme alt rock. I come from a roller derby background, so that sort of strong feminist sort of way. But then also with that, high vibe and compassionate sense to allow people to be who they are. So I guess, yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I'm going for, is like empowering others to be
Mm-hmm.
unapologetically themselves. So by default being myself, because leading by example. That's not to say that I'm always sunshine and rainbows, but it does mean that, I am truthful about what's going on, but I do genuinely tend to have a sunny disposition most of the time, I would say. So,
You
especially when I'm
do.
enjoying what I do. So that kind of feeds really nicely into my brand values as well. So
Mm-hmm.
one of my brand values is individuality, which kind of moves nicely from that unapologetically be yourself. I like to say I am the weirdo, and the Craft, the cult film from the 90s where they're like, we are the weirdos, mister. Definitely resonate with that quite hard.
Yeah.
Community, because I massively believe that we're not in this alone, and do have strength in numbers, and that we really shine and grow together as a unit. Integrity is another one. So making sure that I am acting within honesty and, ethically with my values to make sure that I'm, standing by who I am and what I do. Creativity, obviously, which I kind of don't really say creativity, I say magic, and like leaning into the woo a little bit
Oh.
and creating, transforming things. I am that conduit that transforms what's in people's minds into reality. And then empathy, understanding people and valuing each person's story and struggles, and especially from a design perspective as well, being able to transfer that importance of helping people show who they are into a visual thing as well. So yeah.
I'm not sure why, but that last bit gave me a lot of goosebumps, like that empathy bit and your ability to help people translate their entire story into their brand. And that's definitely something I've witnessed through the many iterations of my branding with you. So the community bit is your 4 on your human design profile. What's the 6 about? Aren't you a 4/6?
I am a 4/6. Yeah. So the
Mm-hmm.
6 is very much about so from what I understand, because I don't understand an awful lot. I haven't gone too deep with human design, but
Okay.
the 6 is representing um, different stages in my life
Mm-hmm.
and going through struggle and experiencing life in order to help others, and being an
Mm.
advocate for others, and very much being able to. So, like the first portion is struggle and experiences. Then the second part of that is learning and processing that for yourself, and then the third part of it is then helping others through the experiences that you've had in 1 and 2. So the 6 part of it is very much to do with that connection side as well, but also
Mhm.
yeah, like almost sage-like, without the ego that goes with it.
And the brand pillars or the brand values that you shared, aren't they right? Like perfect with your profile 4-6. It's amazing. I think that is just mwah, chef's kiss to human design and perfect alignment, which, I kind of want to talk a little bit about your new project. So you are all about community, right? But it's not a branding project. However, it is on brand. Tell us about the BU Club.
Yes, this is my new favorite thing. And kind of, as you all know, I have been doing different iterations of the BU Club for the last 2 years. And
For a
every
while.
time it hasn't, it's been a long time. And it was a podcast, then it was like just hanging out with people, and then it was, connection and all of that sort of stuff. And it wasn't until I had like a mid-shower download moment that I was like,
one of those.
it should be a community. It definitely needs to be that. And so basically, the BU Club is a community space filled with amazing, regular people who are just like you and I, navigating business, navigating the world. And
I thought we were unicorns, Kath.
we are beautiful unicorns as well, but we're also just people on the ranks. But, just doing it one step at a time and not...
Gotcha.
We're not into the boss babe culture. We're not into 50K months. We're into, everything in its right time and allowing for grace and growth and being human about it. Yeah, no pushing, no, shaming ourselves into what we, inverted commas, should be doing. Very much about enjoying our life as it unfolds, and that still includes learning, that still includes self-development, self-awareness, growth, but in ourselves and in our business. But it has a more gentle, empathetic, and high vibe energy to it, just sort of being like, I'm navigating life, but that doesn't mean I can't have fun whilst doing it. And I'm not going to push myself into these boxes in order to achieve particular things that might not necessarily be high on our priority lists or what we actually determine success to be. And the more that I was hanging out with people and attracting people who are similar minded to me, I was realizing that I knew a lot of people who had a lot of amazing expertise in so many different areas, but also just really great friends that I really enjoyed hanging out with. And so that's basically why I created the BU Club, is so that I could hang out with all these cool people that I knew. I could connect them to each other, that we could talk about real stuff and, have a bitch and a moan if we want to, or really cheer each other on in a positive, real way, rather than that fake BS that we see a lot online. And learn from each other as well. So, being able to have somebody who is freaking awesome at what they do and is so passionate about what they do, offer their wisdom in small bite-sized chunks that you can absorb and listen to whilst packing away the laundry or like on a short drive. That helps keep you motivated, helps keep you empowered, but also gives you a little, thought nugget to think about, or helps you move that needle a little bit more. That's why I created it, and that's what I want it to be, and that's what I'm really excited about, is that we can create a community where we're allowing ourselves to be who we are, and supporting each other and just creating a great community around it. So that's the BU Club.
Knowing you personally and in person, and also just like working with you and all this, I think this is perfect. This is really on brand with your personality, and I'm really excited for people to learn more about it. Of course, we'll pop the information in the show notes so that they can join. I know that I'll be a featured guest in the next couple of months, so that's very exciting. I got invited.
I'm so excited to have you.
Kath, where can people find you? And tell us a little bit about that. And if you are open to working with new people in branding, of course, as you mentioned, the BU Club is open for everyone. So we'll pop the link there. But, just about the branding bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, so I am taking on, I'm booking up clients for one-to-one branding work through February onwards. Get in touch and see if we are a good fit to work together with the 3-day brand intensive. I have a couple of courses and some trainings that I'm doing to sort of help you move those markers forward and connect to your vision or values. So yeah, I would say they are the main 3 elements: is the BU Club, then the course to get you aligned, the Aligned Brand Builder to get you really, really solid in those brand foundations. And then my one-to-one work is the 3-day brand intensive is the big foundation work, but then I also do design support as well. So if you are looking for 9 grids or workbooks or anything that involves design support, then get in touch and we can jam out together.
Yay! Yeah, you won't be disappointed. Kath is my number 1 person to whom I refer everybody to, and I will continue to work with you forever, Kath, because you're awesome. Alrighty, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Money Healing Podcast. See you next time.